What if I told you the greatest leaders in history didn't play fair, they played smart? That behind every empire lies a trail of betrayal, fear, and manipulation? That kindness might win hearts, but fear wins thrones? 500 years ago, one man shattered the illusion of noble leadership. He wrote the manual that kings, dictators, CEOs, and even criminals still use to stay in power. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. His book, The Prince. This isn't a story of virtue. It's a weapon disguised as wisdom, a blueprint for domination. And once you understand it, you'll never see power the same way again. Because in this world, you either control the game or get played by it. Chapter 1, Types of Principalities. Machiavelli opens with a simple truth. Every state is either a republic or a principality, and every principality is either inherited or newly acquired. Inherited ones are easy to rule. People are familiar with the family and power. But new ones, that's where the real game begins. People hate change, even if it benefits them. A new ruler faces resistance, rebellion, and instability. To survive, he must understand power, control perception, and crush threats before they grow. Chapter 1 isn't just about kingdoms, it's about mastering the first rule of power. The people fear change more than tyranny. Chapter 2, Hereditary Principalities. In this chapter, Machiavelli explains why ruling a hereditary state is far easier than ruling a new one. The prince's bloodline already commands loyalty. As long as he doesn't drastically change traditions or oppress the people, rebellion is unlikely. The memory of past leadership works in his favor. People prefer the familiar, even if it's flawed. Stability comes not from perfection, but from consistency. The prince's main job? Maintain the status quo, fix small issues fast, and avoid being hated. In a world obsessed with control, Chapter 2 teaches this. Sometimes doing less is the smartest move of all. Chapter 3, Mixed Principalities. Ruling newly acquired territories is the real test of power. In Chapter 3, Machiavelli reveals the chaos of mixed principalities, places with new rulers but old loyalties. The people often rebel, hoping to restore what they lost. The key? Crush resistance quickly, live among the people, and respect their customs. If a region shares your language and culture, it's easier. If not, plant loyal colonies and weaken the powerful. Never rely on mercy. Fear is faster and more reliable. This chapter teaches that in new lands, the prince must act like a surgeon. Cut deep, cut once, and never hesitate. Chapter 4, Why the Kingdom of Darius Didn't Rebel Against Alexander. Machiavelli compares two systems, one ruled by a single absolute leader with loyal ministers, and another by a network of nobles with independent power. Persia, ruled by Darius, had centralized control, so when Alexander defeated him, there was no one left to resist. But kingdoms with many power centers like France are harder to conquer and even harder to keep. Kill the king, and others rise. The lesson? Centralized states are easier to hold once taken. Decentralized ones breed endless threats. A smart prince knows the structure before the strike, because some thrones come with hidden knives. Chapter 5, How to Govern Cities That Lived Under Their Own Laws. Free cities don't forget their freedom. In Chapter 5, Machiavelli warns, when conquering republics, there are only three options. Destroy them completely, live there personally, or let them keep their laws under your control. But be careful. Letting them keep freedom is dangerous. They'll wait for the right moment to rebel. Even small sparks of liberty can reignite revolution. The safest path? Erase the old identity or become part of it. Because people don't love new rulers, they tolerate them until they get the chance to strike. If you can't win their loyalty, bury their memory. Chapter 6, New Principalities Acquired by One's Own Ability. Great leaders don't wait for luck, they create opportunity. In Chapter 6, Machiavelli praises rulers who rise to power through their own skill, not fortune. Think Moses, Cyrus, Romulus, men who shaped destiny with vision and force. These princes face resistance at first, but their strength lies in determination and bold action. Laws and institutions are tools, but without the will to use them, they're useless. Real power demands courage, strategy, and sometimes cruelty. This chapter's lesson is clear. Fortune may open the door, but only the bold have the strength to walk through and lock it behind them. Chapter 7, New Principalities Acquired by Fortune. Chapter 7 exposes the danger of power gained by luck or someone else's help. These rulers rise fast but fall even faster. Without real experience or loyal foundations, they crumble when fortune shifts. Machiavelli uses Cesare Borgia as the ultimate example, skilled, ruthless, and almost perfect, but undone by forces beyond his control. The lesson? If you gain power through fortune, you must immediately build strength. Armies, allies, fear, respect. Because luck is a ladder with broken steps. This chapter doesn't glorify fate, it warns against trusting it. Power handed to you isn't power owned until you make it yours by force. Chapter 8, Those Who Come to Power Through Crime. Some rise to power not through skill or fortune, but through sheer brutality. Chapter 8 dives into rulers who use cruelty and betrayal to seize control. Machiavelli doesn't praise them, but he doesn't condemn them either. If cruelty is used all at once, early on, and then stopped, it can be effective. But repeated violence breeds hatred and rebellion. The key? Shock the people, be feared, not despised. Machiavelli's message is cold but clear. If you must be cruel, do it fast and do it right. Because in power, morality is optional, but stability is not. Chapter 9, The Civil Principality. Chapter 9 reveals a hidden path to power, rising through the support of the people or the nobles. Both offer different advantages, but only one ensures lasting rule. Nobles want power, they're competitors. The people want protection, they're allies. A prince backed by the people stands on solid ground, but if nobles help you rise, you may become their puppet or their target. The smart ruler empowers the people, not because he's kind, but because they're the true foundation of stability. This chapter teaches a timeless truth. When in doubt, choose the crowd, because one noble can betray you, but the masses can dethrone you. Chapter 10, How the Strength of a Principality is Measured. In Chapter 10, Machiavelli asks, what makes a state strong? It's not just wealth or territory. It's whether a prince can defend himself without outside help. If a city can resist a siege alone, it's powerful. If it panics and depends on allies, it's weak. A wise ruler prepares in peace for war, builds walls, stocks supplies, earns loyalty. Even poor cities can survive if the people stand with their prince. The real weapon isn't the army, it's the people's trust. The lesson: a strong ruler doesn't wait for enemies to strike, he builds a fortress in the hearts of his people. Chapter 11, Ecclesiastical Principalities. Chapter 11 explores the one type of state where rulers don't need armies or strategy: church-led principalities. These are powered by religion, not reason. Princes here gain authority through faith and tradition, not force. And because people believe their rule is divine, they face little resistance. Machiavelli admits these states are the easiest to hold, but also the hardest to analyze because they answer to God, not logic. The church maintains power through centuries of belief, not battlefield victories. The message is clear. When people think your power is sacred, they'll obey without question, even if they suffer in silence. Chapter 12 is a warning. A prince without a strong army is a prince waiting to fall. Machiavelli breaks down the types of forces: mercenaries, auxiliaries, and native troops. Mercenaries fight for money, not loyalty. They flee when danger comes. Auxiliaries are borrowed armies, strong but not yours. Both are deadly mistakes. The only reliable force is one that fights for its own land. A wise prince arms his own people. Depend on others and you're not really ruling, you're renting power. The core truth here: you can borrow gold, you can borrow land, but never borrow the sword you need to survive. Chapter 13 on auxiliaries, mixed, and native troops. Chapter 13 drives the point deeper. Auxiliary troops, armies loaned by another ruler, are even more dangerous than mercenaries. They fight for their master, not for you. If they win, you owe them everything. If they lose, you're defenseless. Machiavelli reminds us that Cesare Borgia only found real success when he relied on his own forces. A prince who uses foreign arms is building his rule on sand. True power is rooted in loyalty, not convenience. The message is sharp and unforgiving. You can't outsource survival, because the moment your army answers to someone else, so does your kingdom. Chapter 14, A Prince's Duty in Military Matters. Chapter 14 declares one thing above all: a prince must obsess over war, in peace and in battle. Military strategy isn't just a skill, it's the foundation of leadership. A ruler who neglects the art of war loses respect, control, and eventually his crown. Even in calm times, the wise prince studies terrain, reads histories, trains constantly. He must think like a soldier, move like a general, and plan like a predator. Because when war comes, and it always does, it's too late to prepare. The lesson is brutal and clear. Princes who ignore war Prepare for defeat without ever knowing it. Chapter 15 of the things for which men and especially princes are praised or blamed. Chapter 15 marks a turning point. Machiavelli throws morality out the window. He says rulers are judged by virtues and vices, but in politics these labels are useless. A prince should not try to be good. He should try to be effective. Mercy, honesty, generosity, they sound noble, but they often weaken power. Sometimes cruelty saves lives. Sometimes lies prevent chaos. The world rewards results, not intentions. Machiavelli's message cuts deep. A prince must learn how not to be good and use virtue only when it serves his purpose. Because in power, image is optional, but survival is everything. Chapter 16, Generosity and Miserliness. In Chapter 16, Machiavelli warns excessive generosity is dangerous. It drains your resources, breeds expectation, and eventually leads to heavy taxation or plundering your own people, making you hated. True generosity lies in strategic restraint. Be labeled miserly if needed, but never be reckless with wealth. A prince who gives too much must one day take it back with force. It's better to be called stingy and stay in power than generous and go broke. The core truth? Reputation means nothing if it bankrupts you. Rule with discipline, not guilt. Because power is preserved by calculation, not kindness. Chapter 17, Cruelty and Compassion. Is it better to be loved or feared? Chapter 17 delivers one of Machiavelli's most famous lessons. It's better to be feared than loved, if you can't be both. Love is fragile, built on obligation. Fear is stable, built on control. A prince must avoid hatred, but not fear. Cruelty, when used quickly and effectively, can create order. Mercy, when misplaced, leads to chaos. People will betray a ruler they love if it's convenient, but they'll think twice if they fear him. The harsh truth? Compassion without strength invites ruin. A wise ruler chooses fear over affection because fear secures the throne and love never stopped a dagger. Chapter 18, How Princes Should Keep Their Word. Chapter 18 exposes the illusion of honesty in politics. Machiavelli says, a wise prince must know how to lie when necessary. Keeping promises is admirable, but only when it benefits your power. The world is full of deceivers. Playing fair makes you a target. A prince should appear virtuous, faithful, honest, moral, but act like a fox when danger calls. Deception wins when force fails. People judge by appearances, not truth. The lesson is ruthless but real. Don't be bound by your word, be bound by results. Because in power, those who play by the rules usually end up ruled. Chapter 19, How to Avoid Contempt and Hatred. Chapter 19 warns that the greatest threat to a prince isn't an army, it's public hatred. A ruler can be feared, but never despised. Cruelty is tolerated if it's just and calculated, but weakness, betrayal, and disrespect breed contempt. A prince must avoid taking people's property or dishonoring their families. Those insults are never forgiven. He should be decisive, respected by soldiers, and careful whom he empowers. If the people support him, conspiracies fail. If they hate him, even his guard may turn. The core rule: fear keeps you safe, hatred opens the gates. Rule with steel, but wear it under silk. Chapter 20, Whether Fortresses and Other Strategies Are Useful or Harmful. Chapter 20 explores whether building fortresses protects a prince or isolates him. Machiavelli says it depends on the situation. Fortresses can delay enemies, but also signal fear and disconnect the ruler from his people. The real fortress is not stone, it's the loyalty of your subjects. A loved or feared prince needs no walls. His strength lives in public support and decisive action. Weak rulers hide behind defenses, strong ones walk among the crowd. The message is sharp. Walls can't save a ruler the people want dead. Rule wisely and you won't need towers. You'll have an army of hearts. Chapter 21, How a Prince Should Win Prestige. In Chapter 21, Machiavelli teaches that glory is power's shadow and every prince should chase it wisely. Bold actions, public victories, and clever alliances build reputation. Support the strong in war, never the weak, they drag you down. Show loyalty, decisiveness, and courage, even if it's calculated. Host celebrations, reward talent, solve disputes, but always make it about you. A famous prince inspires loyalty, intimidates enemies, and strengthens his grip. The world follows symbols, be one. The lesson is clear: lead with flair, act with precision, and let your name echo louder than your sword. Prestige isn't a bonus, it's a weapon. Chapter 22, How a Prince Should Choose His Advisors. Chapter 22 reveals that a prince is judged not only by his actions, but by the people he surrounds himself with. Advisors should be wise, loyal, and courageous enough to speak the truth, not flatterers or cowards. A smart ruler listens to advice when asked, but decides alone. If your advisor is thinking of himself first, he's a threat. If he thinks only of you, he's an asset. Choosing the right men is a reflection of your own intelligence. The message is sharp. A prince who trusts fools becomes one. Rule with your mind, but guard it with the minds around you. Chapter 23. How to avoid flatterers. Chapter 23 warns of a silent poison in every court. Flattery. Princes love praise, but it blinds them. Flatterers say what pleases, not what's true. And a ruler who believes only what he wants to hear walks straight into ruin. Machiavelli says, let trusted advisors speak freely, but only when asked. Keep control of the conversation, not the illusion. The wise prince surrounds himself with truth, not comfort. The greater your power, the more dangerous false praise becomes. The lesson is blunt. Flattery feeds the ego, but truth feeds the crown. Trust those who challenge you, not those who cheer too loudly. Chapter 24, Why the Princes of Italy Have Lost Their States. Chapter 24 is a brutal reality check. Machiavelli asks, why did Italian rulers lose their power so easily? The answer: they relied on luck, ignored military strength, and ruled with weakness. When fortune turned, they had no preparation, no public support, and no army to defend them. They blamed fate, but the fault was their own. A wise prince adapts, prepares, and acts. A foolish one hopes. This chapter is a warning. States are not lost by misfortune, but by poor leadership. In the game of power, the unprepared fall, not because they were unlucky, but because they were soft. Chapter 25, How much power fortune has in human affairs and how to resist it. Chapter 25 confronts fortune head-on. Machiavelli compares it to a violent river, unpredictable, destructive, and impossible to control. But the wise prince prepares when skies are clear, builds dams, redirects the flow, and shapes his future before the storm hits. Fortune may rule half of life, but the other half is ours to command. Boldness, not caution, bends fate. In uncertain times, the daring rise while the timid drown. The message is fearless. Don't worship luck, master it. Fortune favors the bold, punishes the passive, and never waits for those too scared to act. Chapter 26, A Call to Liberate Italy from the Barbarians. In the final chapter, Machiavelli drops the mask of the strategist and speaks as a patriot. He calls on a strong leader to rise and unite Italy, break free from foreign control, and restore national pride. The time is ripe. Fortune invites action. The suffering of the people cries out for a savior. Like Moses, Cyrus, or Romulus, a new prince must emerge, bold, ruthless, and visionary. This isn't just a political plan, it's a battle cry. The closing message is powerful. History remembers those who act. Italy needs not another ruler, but a redeemer with fire in his soul and steel in his hand. Final words from the prince. Machiavelli didn't sugarcoat power, he exposed it. The prince isn't a guide for the good-hearted, it's a manual for those who want to win. In politics, business, or life, the rules haven't changed. Appear kind, act sharp, and never let your guard down. Power respects preparation, not pity. If this hit different, like, share, and subscribe to Read It Brief. Here we don't just read books, we decode the minds behind them. More brutal truths, more timeless lessons, and more control over your world. Coming up next on Read It Brief, play smart, stay sharp, and never stop learning.